A carefully orchestrated symphony, Hollywood's greatest comebacks, from John Travolta to Demi Moore. Yun Sun Park, Getty Images, BBC. If there's anything that audiences and awards voters alike love, it's seeing a faded star revitalize their career with one breathtaking performance. But finding the right role to reannounce yourself to the world is a real art. Will Demi Moore win the Best Actress prize at this year's Oscars? She's certainly in with a strong chance. Her fearless performance in Coralie Fargeet's satirical body horror film has already earned her. And aside from the quality of her acting, one key factor could tip the balance in her favor. Hollywood loves it when a former superstar makes a comeback, as do we all. The substance of Golden Globe. Hardcore fans of particular actors feel vindicated when they come back into fashion, says Anna Smith, a film critic and the host of the Girls on Film podcast. And more casual fans may still have a certain nostalgic affection for the people they watched on screen when they were younger, all the more so if they starred in mainstream films. And I suspect that deep down, seeing a famous person's fortunes change for the better gives people hope that it could happen to them, especially in their mature years. Demi Moore's current change in fortunes has all the elements that go into an ideal Hollywood comeback. To a lesser extent, the same could be said of Pamela Anderson's revelatory work in, which was released in the US last week and has garnered its star Golden Globe and Screen Actors Guild nominations. And Ke Huy Quan's comeback is another textbook case after abandoning acting for 20 years. The one-time child star won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for in 2023, and now has his first ever starring vehicle, Love Hurts, in cinemas in February. As different as they might seem, all three actors are following a pattern that was established decades ago. The Last Showgirl, Everything Everywhere All at Once. The perfect Hollywood comeback is a carefully orchestrated symphony of narrative parallels and zeitgeist timing, says Mark Borkowski, a PR expert and the author of the famed formula How Hollywood's Fixers, Fakers and Star Makers Created the Celebrity Industry. Roadside Attractions. By contrast, Moore's comeback feels like a timeless fable. She hadn't starred in a mainstream hit since the 1990s, and in her acceptance speech at the Golden Globes, she talked about how her confidence had been knocked by a producer labeling her a popcorn actress. She was, she said, at kind of a low point. But the substance proved to herself and everyone else that she had more to give. That's the kind of beating the odds, overcoming the obstacles arc that Hollywood can get behind. To cite another exemplary case, Brendan Fraser's tour de force in 2022 came after years of unemployment and depression, which he has linked to his allegation that he was sexually assaulted at a 2003 event by Philip Burke, then president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which organizes the Golden Globes. His 2023 Best Actor Oscar win alongside Quan came across as another supremely moving happy ending. Has talked about being mistreated within the industry. Pam and Tommy miniseries The Whale Emmy comeback is even more compelling if the actor's own experiences are echoed by what's happening on screen. In the substance, Moore plays an ex-superstar who has been thrown on the scrap heap, something that she herself knows all about. In The Last Showgirl, Anderson is a Las Vegas revue dancer whose days in the spotlight are numbered. A lot of off-screen information seeps into this film, notes Karen James in her BBC review, and such information effectively offers audiences a kind of two-for-one deal as the films skip back and forth across the line between fact and fiction. We're not just thinking about the characters' lives, but the actors too. It's not just acting, says Borkowski. It's myth-making. On the other hand, it's crucial that these films don't have the whiff of an ego trip or a vanity project. The message they have to send is that the actors have humbly put themselves at the service of an auteur, preferably, but not always, an auteur who is younger and cooler than they are. And this year, Adrien Brody is likely to be Oscar-nominated, too, for his role in The Brutalist. He hasn't had many memorable starring roles since he won an Oscar for The Pianist in 2003. But by committing to a serious drama from a defiantly independent 30-something director, he reminded everyone how magnificent he can be. Magic Mike Boogie Nights. Marlon Brando's comeback with is a classic case of a crumbling Hollywood icon being restored by an up-and-coming filmmaker. When it comes to a former A-list star suddenly bursting back into the public consciousness and winning great acclaim, there's probably no better example, says Bert Kearns, the author of Marlon Brando Hollywood Rebel. By the dawn of the 1970s, the man who was recognized as the greatest screen actor of the 20th century was literally labeled box office poison by executives at Paramount Pictures when his name was floated for the movie version of Mario Puzo's best-selling book. In late 1970, strapped for cash, he accepted a relatively meager $50,000 for a month's work in England on Michael Winner's low-budget S&M horror flick The Nightcomers. But after he transformed himself into an aging mafia don he won his second Academy Award for Best Actor. The Godfather Francis Ford Coppola's film A unique twist, Kearns tells the BBC, is that 20 years later, Brando had become something of a recluse, only taking occasional cameo roles. When he was convinced by director Andrew Bergman to come back as a mafia boss in The Freshman, Brando agreed, only if he could base the character on Don Corleone. So, in a parody of his landmark role in The Godfather, he was discovered once again, surprising critics and audiences alike as a deft comic actor. A one-man career reviver, the patron saint of Hollywood comebacks is Quentin Tarantino. And the most significant miracle he ever worked was on John Travolta. By the end of the 1980s, the star of Grease and Saturday Night Fever was reduced to appearing in the Look Who's Talking films, a series of family comedies in which the thoughts of babies and pets were voiced by actors. The third film in the series, Look Who's Talking Now, was a box office bomb in 1993. Not that Travolta was the only beneficiary of this casting. Catching fallen stars has been good for Tarantino's reputation, too. When he fetches a forgotten or devalued actor from the attic, Travolta, Pam Grier, Robert Forster, Kurt Russell, Don Johnson, I often feel like I am being somewhat one-upped, as if he were shaming me for not appreciating those folks' careers and abilities, says Sean Levy, the author of biographies of Jerry Lewis, Robert De Niro, and Paul Newman, among others. Once the embodiment of red carpet glamour, Moore is now willing to play someone who is seen as past it and irrelevant in the film's early scenes. And in the later scenes, well, we don't want to spoil anything here, but they are more extreme than anything else in her career so far. It's no wonder that, even before the film premiered at the last May, there were whispers that this was Moore's John Travolta in Pulp Fiction moment. And sure enough, the substance turned out to have everything a comeback vehicle needs: an actor who has struggled, a role that reminds viewers of those struggles, a bold young writer-director, and material which demonstrates just how far the actor is willing to go for their art. Cannes Film Festival. Now Moore just has to make sure that her Travolta moment lasts more than a moment. If you like this story, subscribe the World Top News channel. Thank you.